There was a green in color tow truck that had towed away one vehicle from the area, um, and we just kind of continued with our coffee. Um, few minutes later, the truck returned. The green tow truck returned. It didn't have the car that it initially towed away. Um, it reversed towards my vehicle. It was a yellow in color Issy Trigger. Myself and my friend entered the vehicle. I was actually in the back passenger seat because there was a light pole in the way. But anyway, we got into the car and the tow truck reversed and hooked up our car and started towing us around. Um, Not gonna lie, things get weird when you're hooked up to a tow truck like that. Um, anyway, um, I started putting in some 911 calls. I believe in one of the calls I indicated that there was a crazy man towing my car. Um, we pulled through the alleyway across from Mission Row towards Legion Square and went to the underpass at Legion Square. There was I could hear somebody in the car shouting, don't drive against the towing. And then he started shouting something to the effect if he was trying to unhook us or let us go. We pulled through the underpass at Legion Square, still attached to the car. I placed another 911 call asking for help. We got out of the car at that point. The two individuals in the tow truck exited. One was wearing a yellow high-vis vest. Um, the other one was wearing a blue high-vis vest, black T-shirt. They had blue masks. They took off running. I saw a police car and an ambulance on the southern or northern side of Legion Square on San Andreas side and Strawberry. Um, anyway, they both exited the vehicle. My car was still hooked up. Um, so I also got out of the car. They ran southbound across Legion Square, and I chased after them. Number one, I was trying to figure out who they were, who was towing my car. Number two, I wanted to figure out how I could get my car off of their tow truck. We crossed all the way across Legion Square to the southern side of Vespucci Boulevard. Both of the individuals ran towards a blue sports car that was on Vespucci Boulevard in front of the Fleca Bank. The one in the yellow high-vis vest pulled out a gun, so I kind of ran back towards Legion Square, put some distance, and also pulled a firearm. And that's when the individual in the yellow vest started shooting at me. A passenger got out of the blue car. He wasn't wearing a shirt. He was wearing dark pants. He also started opening fire, and the individual in the blue high-vis vest opened fire also in the area, and the driver of the vehicle also started shooting. I returned fire, tried to get cover from in Legion Square. I got shot down pretty quickly though.
Okay. Can you describe the blue vehicle you mentioned?
It was dark out. It was a two-door sports car. Looked to have like a blue tint to it. I'm not very good with cars though, so I couldn't tell you what kind it was.
Okay. At what point did you realize that the individuals in the truck were armed?
Well, when they exited it, it looked like one of them was reaching, but I didn't see a weapon. It was when the guy in the yellow high-vis vest uh, took cover behind the blue sports car on Vespucci Boulevard that I saw an actual firearm. That's when I backed up.
Okay. And when did you draw your firearm?
When I saw him getting cover and pulling his firearm.
Did you hear any verbal exchanges between the individuals during the incident?
I did not. I wasn't super close.
And what did you do when they began shooting at you?
I returned fire.
As an officer of the law, do you have any obligation to report crimes you see?
I feel an obligation to report crimes. Yes, I
Is there
had.
anything? Oh,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Is there anything further you'd like to mention about what happened that day?
I don't think so.
Okay. Ready for cross, Your Honor.
All right, defense, if you'd like to cross, you may go ahead and do so.
Officer,
Yes.
I just have a couple questions for you regarding a statement you made in court, and then Mr. O'Hagan's going to ask you some questions about the incident, okay?
Okay.
You recall testifying earlier that you pulled out your guns once you observed that they had their guns. Do you recall saying that?
That's correct.
I'm going to suggest to you that you're lying about what had happened in regards to you pulling your guns.
Okay.
The truth is you both had your guns out, mainly because you got
Your
kidnapped the
Honor,
day prior,
objection.
right?
Inflammatory.
Mr.
the
Hunt,
previous
let's go
question.
ahead and can you repeat that question real quick for me, Mr. Hunt?
Yes, certainly. I said the truth is that you and your boyfriend both had your guns pulled because of an incident that happened yesterday.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and sustain that objection. And also, Mr. Hunt, can you please keep to questions?
And that was more of a
Sorry, keep to
statement.
questions.
Right, only ask questions, not statements.
Oh, sorry, Judge. That was a question. I apologize if I asked it incorrectly. Officer, the day prior, you were kidnapped, right?
Honor beyond the scope.
Your Honor, it's directly in the scope. It's directly inside of the statement of Jonathan Krug, what has been admitted into evidence via the court docket.
Your Honor, we are looking at the charges of attempted second-degree murder and also the unlawful possession of a firearm. It is beyond the scope of what the charges are being brought forth to by the state.
And just as well, Your Honor, it also goes to impeachment because, of course, we're asserting that the officer's lying about at what point she pulled her gun, and what we're about to pull up will directly impeach her statement that
Objection
she
on that
previously
statement
gave.
that she is lying.
Okay,
that is also
all right.
inflammatory.
Well,
We've
Judge,
had-
that was just my
We have
rebuttal.
had
sir.
enough back and forth at this point. Okay, let me review the statement made by Mr. Krug real quick. Okay, I will go ahead and overrule the objection. Mr. Hunt, if you'd like to continue.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, is it Officer Kelly? Can I call you that?
It's Officer Price.
Officer Price. Officer Price, you ran after them with your gun in hand, right?
No, I did not run after them with my gun in my hand.
And do you recall your boyfriend running with his gun as well inside of his hand?
He was behind me. I could not see what he had in his hand.
So if your boyfriend would have told the police that he was running, that you were running after them with a gun in your hand, that would have been a lie.
I would assume.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Well, Judge, that statement has nothing to do with hearsay. I'm not introducing
Officer
any
Price
statement
just
that was
stated that
made.
she could not see the individual that they are asking the questions
Well-
on. While there is a statement admitted into evidence, it would have her testifying on matters that she did not personally witness.
And just for clarity, Your Honor, that was my prior question. My question is if her boyfriend made a statement that she did not have, or sorry, that she did have a gun in her hand, that would have been a lie.
I'm going to go ahead and sustain the objection.
Very well, thank you. Officer Price, do you have access to the docket?
I do.
Can you take a look at that? And did you write this report that's on the docket?
Oh,
Or
this
was
is
it written
really
by
uncomfortable.
Officer Harp? Trooper Harp?
The police report.
Yes.
No, I didn't write the police report. I was not an involved officer.
Okay. And Jonathan Krug, just for my clarity, that's your boyfriend, if I understand correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Let me know once you have a copy of the docket up.
Okay, I have it.
All right. And if you refer to Mr. Krug's statement, a couple lines down, you can see statement, and I quote, Kelly started running after them with a gun in her hand. So I also decided to run with Kelly with my gun. Do you see that statement?
I do see that statement, sir.
Continuing on, he says, Kelly and I had our guns out because Kelly got kidnapped yesterday. Do you see that statement?
Yes, I do. I can read, sir.
And it continues to say, we chased them with our guns out, and they decided to shoot at us, and then PD rolled up. Do you see that?
Sir, yes, I can read
Are you
that.
are you suggesting in your testimony today that your boyfriend was lying about what happened?
I cannot say what he believed he saw, sir. I
Well,
know what I did and what I
you're of
saw.
course saying that you didn't have guns, right?
Objection,
didn't-
Your Honor, inflammatory. This line of questioning is going to aggravate the witness at this time.
Well, Judge, the purpose of cross-examination is to
I
unveil
had said
truth.
I had said objection, but unfortunately I was whispering.
We heard you, don't worry. Or maybe I only heard you.
It was before I had said objection prior.
Sorry, Judge, did you hear her objection?
Not initially, no.
She was objecting as to inflammatory, and I'm happy to respond if you'd like.
Sure.
Well, mainly, the purpose of cross-examination is to question the facts of the case, and if any time I try to question a previous statement that she made is considered inflammatory, then we might as well just eliminate the purpose of cross-examination.
I'm telling you,
Well,
I didn't have a
counsel's not
gun.
used any inflammatory language. He hasn't attacked the witness in any capacity. The questions that he's asking are quite respectful in nature.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. I'm gonna go ahead and overrule the objection.
It was about a
Okay,
shooting in
so Officer
Legion's
Price, so
Way.
what I was asking before is about the comments, or sorry, the statements rather, that your boyfriend made. You would agree with me that you are making contradictory statements then to what your boyfriend said to the police, right?
I would guess that it does not match up according to his statement.
You
I
also
didn't speak to
acknowledge
him
that
about it or read his statement.
you also acknowledge that both of these facts can't be true. It cannot be true that you didn't have your gun, and it also can't be true that you did have your gun. It has to be one or the other. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And to go back to the question I asked before it was objected to, is that are you suggesting that he's lying on this statement?
I don't know that he was able to see behind me what I was doing or what I was not doing, sir. I couldn't tell you whether or not he's intentionally lying or if he didn't see everything.
Nevertheless, you would agree that it is a lie that you had a gun, is what you're saying.
What? What?
Right?
Sir, I did not have a gun.
I understand. Did you hear my question?
No.
Okay, would you like me to repeat it?
Yes.
Okay, so here's what I'm asking. You, of course, know, and just to backtrack here a little bit, you, of course, know, like I said earlier, that both facts cannot be true, right?
Oh my God. Jesus fucking Christ. Yes.
Okay. And to move past this for a second before we circle back, you would agree with me that you were pointing your guns at these people, and then immediately after, there was some firing back, right? You guys were pointing your guns because you thought that these were the people who were stealing your car.
Well, they were the people that were stealing my car, and I pulled my gun when the man in the yellow vest pulled his weapon after taking cover behind the blue sports car.
Okay, and you're not here testifying today about who that was, right? You're just saying that it happened.
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
And you were not involved in collecting any of the evidence on the scene or anything to that effect, right?
No, I was not.
All right, thank you. I think Mr. Haynes asked some questions about the general incident overall now.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. He's having a rough day, Your Honor.
Computer, don't shut down.
Officer Kelly Price. Is it Officer Price or is it Senior Officer now?
It's Senior Officer Kelly Price.
Senior Officer Price. Let's go back to the situation where you hop out of the car. When you hop out of the car, was there a gun in your hand?
No.
Okay. And at no point there was a gun in your hand until you reached for your firearm after an individual took cover behind a blue car. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And Jonathan Krug, your boyfriend that made the contradictory statement to this, is he inside the courtroom today?
I don't believe so.
And when you after the fire opened up, about how long until officers arrived on scene?
It was almost immediate, if I'm being
Okay.
honest. It was very quick.
Do you know which officer arrived on scene first?
I could not tell you.
Do you know which officer you saw first?
I got shot down pretty quickly. After officers arrived, I couldn't see who was who. It was also very dark.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question related to your professional experience. In your professional experience, if an individual is chasing after you with a firearm in their hand, would you say that they're a threat?
Objection, Your Honor, beyond the scope.
It's directly relevant to the scope, Your Honor, as it's based off Jonathan Krug's statement.
We didn't ask any questions in direct regarding this.
You
Can
did
you repeat
ask.
the question one more time, Mr. Hagan?
Yes, it's in your professional experience, if an individual is chasing after you with a firearm, are they articulated as a threat? And Your Honor, this is just to save time. I can call her as a rebuttal and ask the exact same question when state rests if you wish, Your Honor.
I'm going to go ahead and overrule the objection based off the question.
Do you still have the question, or do you need me to repeat it?
If you
Senior
could
Officer
repeat
Price?
the question, sir.
In your professional experience, if an individual is chasing after you with a firearm out, are they articulated as a threat?
If somebody is chasing me with a weapon in their hand, yes.
Correct. And at any point, at what point did you see Jonathan Krug have his firearm out?
He was behind me. I could not see him.
Okay, was he behind you the
Objection,
entire
Your
time?
Honor, already asked and answered within the defense's own line of questioning.
No, she answered it based off of a question that was asked and answered. But my question was different. I never asked, or we never asked if she saw Jonathan Krug with a firearm in his hand. We only asked if she had one.
Overruled.
And I believe your answer was that you couldn't see him. Is that correct?
That is correct. He was behind me.
At any point in time during this this incident, did you see Jonathan Krug with a firearm?
I personally did not. I heard gunshots from where I believed him to be.
And where did you believe he was?
To my back right side, running across Legion Square with me.
Okay. And when you guys are saying you're running across Legion Square, can you give me a direction of travel?
We were running from the northeast side towards the south side, almost directly across from Fleca Bank.
Okay. And the alleged individuals involved in this incident, were they in front of the Legion Bank or were they on the north side of you?
They were across from Legion Bank in the road.
So in between you and Legion Bank?
Yes.
Inside of this incident, did you ever discharge your weapon in the direction of any officers?
No, I did not.
Okay. How close were the individuals to the officers that were on the scene?
Like I said, I got shot down pretty quick, but the police car that I saw arrived, parked on the southern side, pretty close to the sports car that was in the road. By that time, the suspects had pushed back towards Legion Square, towards my person. Two of them were focused on me. Then I went down, so I couldn't tell you specifically any more than that.
Okay. So were you down before or after the law enforcement officer arrived on scene?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
That question has never been asked, Your Honor.
Did you ask where she was when police arrived?
I asked where she was located, yes. I never asked if she was down yet or not, if she was injured. Never asked this question. I have a list of questions.
Sorry, I'm reviewing my own record.
If you believe yourself to be in danger, get in the car and drive away.
I'm going to go ahead and overrule.
Thank you, Your Honor. Senior Officer Price, were you down on scene by the time the officers arrived?
Pretty shortly after I saw the police car pull up, one officer got out, and then I was down pretty quickly. There was an individual that exited the car wearing no shirt, dark pants, that had specifically pushed me and shot me down.
Do you remember by chance what color or department the vehicle belonged to?
I couldn't say for sure, sir.
Okay. Do you know what color the vehicle was next to the blue sports car?
If I had to guess, sir, I would say it's a LSPD. It was a SUV.
Okay. Just 1 second, Your Honor.
Hello there, Officer Price. How are we doing today?
Above average, thank you.
Above average. That's mighty fine to hear. I just had a few questions for you in regards to the incident. So, if we can back up a little bit, how many suspects, in your view, were involved in this? Involved in the theft of the car and then any incident afterwards?
4.
4. All right. And do you allege here and now that either of the defendants were involved?
I didn't take any part in identifying by name any individual.
Okay. So you have no knowledge of either of the defendants being involved in this incident. Is that fair to say?
I guess so. All I know is what they were wearing.
Okay. And if we can, let's back up to the tow truck. So you get out of your car that's on the tow truck. And when exactly did you pull your gun out?
I pulled my gun out when I got to the southern end of Legion Square after the individual in the yellow vest took cover behind the blue sports car and started pulling a gun.
And were you running at that time?
I was running at that time, approaching the southern side of Legion Square. I saw the gun. I turned around to put some distance between myself and that individual and also pulled my firearm.
All right. Let me give you a hypothetical here. Let's say the reverse is true. All right. Let's say that you're an officer of the law, you're hiding behind your car just on a normal day, right? You're just positioned behind your car. You have an individual that starts charging you, starts running at you. Are you going to fear for your safety at that point if someone's charging straight at you?
Do they have a weapon?
No.
Probably not. I'm gonna tell them to back away or keep their distance. I'm not gonna be super scared.
All right. And they're hiding behind this car. And how certain are you that they pulled a gun out?
I'm 100% certain that they pulled the gun out.
All right. So you're telling me, I guess, which end of the car are they at? Let's clarify that.
They were near the front end of the car.
All right. So it's your testimony here and now that you saw from a fair distance away that this individual, they hid behind the hood of the car, the opposite end, right? Like you couldn't see their entire body. Is that right?
He was near the hood of the car, and it was a low-profile vehicle. I
Okay.
definitely could see him pulling his gun.
All right. And you continued to run at him anyway, right?
I had a little bit of momentum, but I stopped and turned around and put some distance between myself and him, yes.
Okay. And did you run away at that point?
He was pointing his gun. That's when I was pulling my weapon, trying to get cover.
Right. And at that point, did they start shooting?
Yes.
Okay. And after they started shooting, did they try and run at you, try and get a better angle at you, shoot you more effectively?
Uh, yes, actually.
Okay. And from there, this shootout moves to Legion Bank, right?
I couldn't tell you. I got shot down in Legion Square pretty quickly.
Okay. And what were the other individuals on scene doing?
Also shooting.
So all four individuals are shooting at this point.
That is correct. An individual got out of the front passenger seat of the blue sports car. That's the one that pushed me specifically. Also, the driver was shooting from the driver's seat of the vehicle. I couldn't see where the other two individuals went.
Hey, give me a moment.
It wasn't an SUV. The SUV arrived last. And I don't know that. They're trying to discredit me. And that pisses me off.
All right, sounds good. Officer Price, that is right.
That's correct, sir.
Okay, so you remember earlier testifying, Mr. Counselor Hall was asking you a question regarding at what point these said individuals that you allege shot at you had pointed their gun at you. Is that correct? Do you recall that?
There were a lot of questions, but yes.
Okay, do you remember testifying that when you were running away and getting cover after you alleged that the other individual had pulled out their weapon, the individual had pointed their gun at you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I ask you in full transparency here. When you were grabbing cover and you were running the other direction, how did you know for certain that the individual was pointing a gun at you?
Because he started shooting when I was pulling out my gun.
Okay, so before you were able to grab any cover at all, you were already being shot. So before you even turned away from the individual, you were already being shot. So you were already face to face with the person.
He opened fire almost immediately after I started reaching for my weapon.
Okay, with all due respect, on surprise, I don't know when you reached for your weapon. What I'm asking here is when you turned around, were you shot in the back or were you shot in the front of your body?
But I turned around, I was like moving left. I was backing up and moving towards, there's like a little wall around Legion Square. Not a very big wall, but it was the most cover that I could find.
Okay, so you weren't actually turned around. You just backed up, but you still maintained an eyesight on the individuals. Am I understand that correct?
Yes. I could see him pointing the gun.
Okay. All right. I'll go and ask my fellow counselors if there's any more questions.
No further questions, Your Honor. We're prepared to move to a redirection of the state.
Jesus.
Okay.
They are,
State, would you like to redirect?
they were so passive. They were trying to trip me up.
No, Your Honor. We're done with this witness.
Okay.
Jesus.
Senior Officer Price, you can go ahead and return to your seat in the gallery. Please remember that you are still under oath.
Thank you, ma'am.
Great. Does the
fucking
state have another
Christ.
witness or piece of evidence they'd like to submit?
How
I would
the
just like to
fuck am
bring
I
the attention to the
supposed
court to the evidence in the filing, the bullet casings and the blood that comes back to Desmond Young and Jalen Young,
Like I
as
was
well
on
as the
trial
blue
there.
Paragon that was found on scene, which is a two-door sports car
God
that comes
damn.
back to
I'm gonna
Jalen
lock
Young.
myself up.
That was brutal.
All right. I'll be accepting these into evidence.
I know
However,
what they
in the
were
future,
trying to
please remember
do. They asked the
to
same
label
question
your exhibits.
15 different
Yes, Your Honor.
ways.
Sorry, just so
Yeah,
you're aware,
they're
we
trying to
actually have
catch
an
you off
objection to
guard.
these exhibits now that the lead detective hasn't been called to testify.
Okay. Who wrote this incident report in the briefing?
I believe it would be Trooper Miranda Harp, Your Honor.
Is she a trooper?
Okay, is
I
this
don't
the
know if they're
detective we're talking
corporal
about
or-
now?
Detective Trooper, but I don't think she's MCD. I'm honestly not sure, Your Honor. I'm pretty sure it's a trooper though.
I'm pretty sure she's a detective now.
She is a
Is it
detective,
detective?
with the Major Crimes Division at this
Yeah.
time.
All right, so it is Detective Miranda Harp then, Your Honor.
Good
Okay, I'm just reviewing the
lord.
report real quickly.
Oh my god. It was quite painful. Jesus. Like, I don't know
Okay,
what
I'm
I'm
gonna go
supposed
ahead
to
and,
remember from a
hold that
month ago.
objection. Okay. Anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor. Just also making sure to point out the statements and everything that has already been discussed in court.
So are you basically asking to admit the report from the briefing?
Yeah, everything in the original filing. But other than that, we have nothing further.
All right. So at that point, is the state resting its case?
It is indeed.
Okay.
Your Honor, as the state is rested, we do have several motions we'd like to present if you'd be willing to hear them out.
Oh, here we go.
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor. Don't mind, I'm just going to approach. Your Honor, I have a few motions to present. First off, we're going to be presenting a motion to strike all of the exhibits that have been presented thus far. More specifically, I mean all the photos, evidence reports, basically all of the physical evidence, photographic evidence,
What?
DNA evidence, all that's been submitted thus far. And the simple reason for that is that no witness has been called to authenticate any of this. We don't know where any of it came. We don't know if a proper chain of evidence has been handled. We don't know
Where
if any of
are
this
the
is real evidence or
officers?
if it's not completely forged. We have no witness to authenticate that's come up today in this court sworn to tell the truth and said before Your Honor that all of this evidence is what it is what it purports to be. And as no witness has authenticated any of this evidence, it must be struck in due to that fact. So we request all
I
the
don't know
physical
why
evidence,
nobody
everything
would have
that's been
been
submitted in
subpoenaed.
Exhibit
Like, I
4B,
literally got a phone call
stricken
at
from the record.
midnight.
Your Honor, if I may have a chance to rebuttal for the state.
Sure.
All the pieces of evidence that my friend across the aisle is objecting to and doing a motion of dismissal is also time-stamped and officer-stamped and verified on the submission. And I would also like to point out your ruling just moments ago of a overrule on the striking of all the evidence being submitted in.
Your Honor, we'd make a quick point of clarification. I believe you said the objection will be held, not overruled.
That's right,
Yes.
Judge. If I may, there is no exception that could be applicable in this case for this evidence. Ultimately, it hasn't been authenticated. And since it hasn't been authenticated, it cannot be accepted into the record. We're not asking for the case to be dismissed, not yet anyway. But the simple fact is the evidence, we don't know if it's legitimate. And because we don't know that, because
Where would it have come from?
to its legitimacy, its authenticity, it's got to be stricken.
A final rebuttal from the state, Your Honor.
Sure.
Authentic cameras from any department of law enforcement have been accepted as evidential standard as of late to the courts in past rulings.
Your Honor, one final word on that. We aren't arguing that the photos aren't valid, if that makes sense. What we're saying is that because no witnesses come up on the stand and said, hey, yes, I took this photo, or even, hey, yes, I saw someone take that photo, or I saw someone collect that evidence, because no witnesses testified to that fact.
So you
Again,
need
we
to
have no
have
way of
an
knowing if,
officer at every
say,
trial
this piece
say,
of
I
DNA,
took
this
the
photograph, we have no
photos.
idea where it came from, or if it's even involved in this case. And because that doesn't exist, because that didn't happen, because no witnesses testified to that, the evidence can't be accepted. We're not saying that this photo it just can't